response to the high number of ARLA drivers who have submitted entries to the ARLA Grand Prix, series officials have successfully negotiated with Four Corners promoters to move the race back a day so that the drivers who have qualified for ARLA can fly out to Finland in time for the race. In the past, it hasn't been much of a problem for ARLA teams to enter ARLA. The schedule happened to never conflict with that race in years past. However, this season is a different story. Again, this weekend's race conflicts with the ARLA Grand Prix, but we still have teams and drivers entering that race as if they have an off week. I'm baffled that so many people just don't seem to care about the championship. Anyway, let's move on to the race. Isaac Leitner, in just his third start, takes the Cromwell Pole Award for round number 1 of the Four Corners 200. It seems that he is quickly getting a handle on these ARLA cars, and it certainly helps that he grew up on short tracks like the one we are running at today. Rip Tyler started in the back of the field, very uncharacteristic for the PSI cars, and now he is roughing up the 26 of Carlo De Preto, takes both cars into the inside wall and almost causes a wreck, but they both keep going. Wreck or not, that was not very smart of Tyler to try to go 3 wide in the opening laps, especially at the back of the field. Points leader Libby Bell develops a mechanical problem on the 3rd lap of the race, and that would be the last we see of her today. Her team spent the entire race trying to get that problem sorted out, but they never did. I believe she may have been reporting a vibration because you see the team changing the tires on that car, but it's pretty obvious that it was something else. And I don't know how they didn't figure it out the entire race. Bell would finish last, which is going to be a huge blow to her points lead. The first caution flew as Todd Stater gets into the back of Joseph Howard and turns him into the tire wall, protecting that opening in the pit wall. And then James West has nowhere to go and hammers into the back of the 17 car. Stater was all over the back of the 17 car, but it just looked like that Howard may have gotten loose and swept across the nose of the 15. Stater was being really ambitious, but I'd have to say this is marginal. Isaac Leitner continues to lead on the restart. Herbie Finkelberg is right behind him, with Eric Jackson, Namimura, and Tiffany Matthews rounding out the top 5. Here we have Kiriki Hitsuno and Taylor Brillen battling for position. They had a run-in at Piqua a couple weeks ago over a very minor off-track incident. And then, Brillen into the back of the 6, and Hitsuno goes into the wall. Now, what was that about? I don't know, but let's have another look at it. So we're on board the 65 car, and I think she sees an opportunity under the 6, and it looked like Kiriki Hitsuno got a little bit loose. Yeah, I'm starting to think that may not have been intentional. Brillen doesn't seem like the type of person who could wreck someone in a subtle manner anyway. And coming back to the caution, Rip Tyler gets into the back of Leslie Riggs, which takes Bob Steffens into the end of the pit wall. And it was just 10 laps ago that Tyler almost wrecked Carlo De Preto, and he was ordered to meet with race control after this. And here is Brenda Riggs almost wrecking Todd Wodarczyk coming to the caution as well. I'm not sure what that was about, but she has had run-ins with Gravity Racing team owner Packer Carroll in the past, and Race Control wanted to speak with her as well. David Krikorian leads on the restart after pit stops under yellow cycled out. Todd Stater and Michael Madrigal are battling for second right behind him. Krikorian himself is trying to negotiate with the lap car of Barton Sandy, who is, of course, trying to get back on the lead lap, so he is not going to move over for the 32. Let's go on board with Michael Madrigal. He's dealing with the lap car by dumping him into the inside wall. He clearly doesn't have as much patience for lap cars as David Krikorian does. Nikos Kostopoulos is trying to hold off the 102 of Laura Sires, so there's contact between them, and Kostopoulos gets turned into the pit lane. Kostopoulos then decides that this would be a good time to make a pit stop. He came into this weekend after scoring his second career top 10 finish at Quincy, but his third is going to have to wait. Vijay Pachanda is back in the Math Motors car this week. Indeed, he was able to find some time in his TM Master Cup schedule to come run this car again, and he's picked up right where he's left off with a top 10 run going so far. But Philip Borland's been running this car in place of Pachanda for the last few weeks, and he's done a pretty good job himself. He grabbed a second place finish last week. Jessica Graham is also having a good run in the 59 car, but then Tiffany Matthews slows up in front of her. Isaac Leitner gets into the back of the 59 and turns her around. The caution doesn't come out, but Jessica Graham has to pit for new tires. Aztec Autosport just doesn't have any luck this season. If they're not blowing up, then they're getting into wrecks. But here's someone who is turning around his luck, Jason Teller in the 47 for Zenith Development. He is looking at a top 15 run today after being outpaced for much of the season by his teammate Leigh Gruel. But then Teller fell off the pace, and now he is in danger of going a lap down to David Krikorian. but Krikorian has a couple other lap cars to negotiate with, the 86X of Mac Ryland and the 67 of Brenda Riggs. Jessica Graham is also running a lap down. Graham and Riggs pitted earlier in the race, and they have much fresher tires than Krikorian. Riggs now looking for an opportunity to get around him on the outside. Krikorian is really trying to hold them off, but this is only bringing second place Michael Madrigal closer to him. Robert Scott is lurking back in the third position. He's only in his second full season, but he's got 2 wins to his name, the most recent coming a couple weeks ago at Piqua. As this green flag run went on and everyone's tires started wearing out, you can see how slow everyone is going around the track. Tire wear was a huge problem in practice, but ARLA is sticking with the compound that they brought in the first place, and so everyone's just going to have to tiptoe around the track until they pit. Fourth place Laura Cyrus is currently trying to negotiate with the lap car of Barton Sandy, and you see Michael Madrigal has pitted from the second spot. Several more cars came into the pits after Madrigal did. Carlo DiPreto is pitting this lap, but as he's coming in, Robert Scott is trying to come back out. They make contact, and both cars go into the end of the pit wall. That was some very unfortunate timing by both drivers, and DiPreto continued to move towards the pit lane even after he hit the 33 car. And this was an especially tough break for Robert Scott, who had such a great run going. Both cars will go out of the race. And this is going to trap several cars a lap down, as this again occurred in the middle of the pit cycle. Eric Jackson is the leader on the restart. Vijay Prashanda is in second. And that long line of lap cars is probably going to be an issue for the leaders. But then we got another caution as Barton Sandy hooks Jason Teller. They're both a lap down. Teller flies up back in front of traffic, and Tyson Lautenschlager goes onto his roof. Nami Mura and Taylor Brillin are also involved, and more cars pile into the 39. Mura goes over as well. Let's now focus on Nami Mura, whose team has been needing a good run, but she's not going to give that to them today. She was just an innocent victim when Teller came flying back up in front of traffic, and then it's Mac Ryland in the 86X who scoops her up onto her roof. Ryland's probably thinking, why let the safety crews get cars out of the way when I can push them out of the way myself? And then Mura gets hit once more by Taylor Brillin. Mura and Lautenschlager are both going to go out of the race. Eric Jackson pitted under the yellow, which gives the lead to Vijay Prashanda, who is currently trying to negotiate the lap car of Michael Madrigal. Madrigal, of course, was running second before he had to pit, and he got trapped a lap down when that unfortunate caution came out. David Krikorian, who is running right behind Prashanda, is in the same situation as Madrigal, and now he looks to try to get his lap back as well. On lap number 70, Alex Carson gets into the back of Bill Tissam, who won at Quincy last week, and turns him right into the tire wall. Now that was one of the more obvious dumpings that I've seen in a while, but I'm not sure what happened between those two. And then on the very next restart, contact from Jessica Graham sends Taylor Brillin into the tire wall, and that collects Jason Teller and Lane Cranston as well. That tire wall really seems to be a magnet, but I suppose that it's better than just leaving that open and having cars flying into the pit lane all the time. And it looks like that Graham thought Brillin left an opening for her, and she went for it, but it just didn't work. But both Graham and Brillin were off the lead lap, so I'm not sure what Graham thought she would gain by trying to go 3 wide like that. And now on the restart after that, we get our final caution as Jason Teller tries to make it 3 wide on Mac Ryland. Ryland goes up and over, and he gets hit by Brenda Riggs. And again, the cars involved were off the lead lap. We had the same problem last week with lap cars just being a nuisance. And now coming back to the caution, Kyle Gaffigan washes up into Casey Campbell and then sweeps across the front bumper of Alex Carson. They go off into the sand. Gaffigan digs in and does a few rolls. And now Gaffigan will go out of the race as well. Vijay Prashanda hit the pit lane under yellow, so Rip Tyler inherits the lead. Tiffany Matthews is the second car on the outside line, but she is actually a lap down. I'm not sure why she wasn't on the inside line, and she was called to race control for an improper restart. I don't think Rip Tyler minds, though. Matthews is wedged nicely in between him and second place Ebenezer Quiggles Jr., and just look at how quickly Tyler is building up that lead towards the end of this race. And let's look back at Tiffany Matthews, who is continuing to hold up traffic, and that is Todd Wlodarczyk with the front end missing on that 71 car. He has actually moved up to the second spot. Last year, Wlodarczyk grabbed 2 wins, subbing for the injured Eric Jackson. He didn't have too much success when he ran in the TM Master Cup Series, but he seems to be right at home in ARLA. A bit further back in the field, Casey Campbell and Laura Cyrus are battling for position. Here comes Isaac Leitner trying to make it 3 wide, but it doesn't work. and he takes Campbell into the wall. Campbell had a top 10 run going, but she's going to have to drop out of the race because of all that heavy damage. It's a shame that some people are getting just a bit more ambitious than they should be. Rip Tyler continues to build up his lead, and oh, he's got a problem, and he's heading to the pit lane. I believe he was reporting a vibration. There was some concern that there was a bit of debris out on the track, but the 16 team didn't find anything wrong with the car. But this is great news for Todd Wlodarczyk, who now takes the lead with Ebenezer Quiggles chasing him. Michael Madrigal also came into the pits from the 8th position. He had worked his way back up onto the lead lap, but then he reported a problem of some kind. We're not sure what it was, but the 64 team quickly sent him back out. But this is going to be very costly for Madrigal. And now Todd Wlodarczyk has taken the white flag. Ebenezer Quiggles and Laura Cyrus are breathing down his neck. It looks like Quiggles and Cyrus are much faster than the wounded 71 car, but Wlodarczyk is doing a great job holding them off. Wlodarczyk did a great job in the 3 car last year, and it looks like that putting him in the 71 full-time this year was a very wise decision. Todd Wlodarczyk comes off the final corner and takes his 3rd ARLA Elite Series victory. Quiggles did a great job following up his victory at Quincy with a very quiet run up until the final laps. Laura Cyrus also ran very quietly, as she tends to do, and she comes home with a 3rd place finish. Isaac Leitner picked up 5 bonus points for winning the pole. He got shuffled back a bit, but came back to finish 4th, although it wasn't a terribly clean race for Leitner, and I don't think he made too many friends. Vijay Pashanda does a great job once again in the pie machine. He finishes 5th. Eric Jackson makes it 3 Gravity Racing cars up inside the top 10. What a great day for that team. Todd Stater once again shows his ability on these short tracks and finishes 7th in the Green Racing car, which seemed to be very underpowered in preseason testing. Herbie Finkelberg finishes 8th, Alex Carson 9th. Carson has not won a race since 2009, but he's been putting together some good finishes lately. And Leslie Riggs, what a great way to rebound from that blown engine at Quincy. She finishes 10th. And now we move on to round number 2, where Scott Dalitz has taken the Cromwell Pole Award. Harry Asinola is on his outside, and in 3rd is Benji Flynn, Dalitz's teammate. Dalitz jumped out to an early lead, while Inola was involved in the first accident on lap number 2, when Phil Summers pushes up into Bobby Porteau, and Inola taking all 3 cars into the wall and collecting Kevin Monroe as well. Summers had a great qualifying effort, but he kind of wasted it by not paying any attention whatsoever. It is Dalitz Performance 1-2 on the restart as Dalitz and Flynn pace the field. But again, Dalitz's lead is short-lived as Zachary Zins gets into the back of the 696 of Jennifer Goodwin, turning her onto the apron, and she comes back up and tags Greg Woodard in the 41. Many of the leaders pitted under this caution, but Darren Grant didn't, and so he inherited the lead on the restart. Kevin Monroe and Lucas Sweeney are 2nd and 3rd. Monroe, as you remember, was involved in the lap 2 accident. Speaking of accidents, we immediately got another one as Harry Inola gets tired of A.G. Young holding him up. A.G. Young sweeps back up in front of Inola, and this creates a small pileup with both of the Eicholtz Autosport cars, Jacob Eicholtz and Ben Atkins, as well as Nick Howard going into the wall. Actually, Nick Howard was tagged by Lawrence Burr coming off at turn number 2. Burr just turned him around and he happened to join that little party up there. Howard is one of the Canadian drivers running today, and this probably wasn't what his home crowd was looking for. Everyone else who hadn't made their pit stop already did it under this caution, but it was Yevgeny Kuznetsov cycling to the front of the field on the restart, and you saw some contact between Scott Dalitz and the lap car of Jacob Eicholtz. Kuznetsov flipped his car last week, but he's doing a great job rebounding from that so far. But then we got another quick caution as Lawrence Burr can't stop hitting people. He takes Greg Woodard into the tire barrier, and several more cars pile in, including Bigsby Foot and Rachel Rainsford. Gary D'Souza leads on the restart. He stayed out while several others pitted, but D'Souza would be held up behind Michael Gallen, who is driving the Empire car this week, and Kuznetsov sweeps back around to take the lead once again. And Kuzi, as he is known by his growing fan base, would open up a big lead over everyone else. That Togliatti power under the hood of the 82 is certainly working out for Kuznetsov. The Togliattis have not been very reliable in the TM Master Cup Series, but over here they've put the Russian native Kuznetsov in a very good position in the title hunt. Nicole Moreno is doing a good job so far, avenging the misfortunes of her teammate Nick Howard. Moreno is another one of the Canadian drivers running here today, and she is putting together a top 10 performance in front of her home crowd. Team Burr has struggled for much of its existence, but Paul Lyons is doing a very good job in this 54 car, running up inside the top 20 so far. Team owner John Burr competed as a driver in the 1990s. He scored a big win against Chuck Johans at Talladega in 1996, but he was kind of a midfielder everywhere else. He brought his team back in 2009 and got in a lot of trouble with series officials for starting and parking, but since then he's acquired some sponsorship and has been able to run the full races. The team is still rather underfunded, but Paul Lyons, a former Team Master Cup Series driver, is showing what he can do. A caution on lap 45 would interrupt the action. Seiji Dejao in the 91 tries to get around Derek Dunning at the same time that Bobby Porteau is making a move, and everyone just runs out of real estate. We had more pit stops under that caution, and Benji Flynn cycles out as the leader. Phil Summers is second, Lucas Sweeney is third, and Paul Lyons is fourth. Flynn tries to jump out in front of Summers even as he's negotiating with lap traffic. Lyons is trying to hold his own after getting such a great restart, but on the other hand, the underpowered TTE engine under the hood of that car is kind of holding everyone up. I'm pretty sure that all the faster teams would like Lyons to move over and let them go, but he's on the lead lap and he does have every right to defend his position. But eventually the faster cars got the best of Dunning, and they freight trained him in a hurry. The next caution came out on lap 55 as Seiji Dejao and Yevgeny Kuznetsov get together. They still lean on each other going into turn 4, and Dejao goes up into the wall. Dejao is having a very good run before this. Kurt Walker Motorsports was hoping he could put together a good run after Namimura wrecked in the first round, but now that's going to be rather difficult to accomplish. Let's go on board with Kuznetsov. He sees an opportunity, but he gets together with the 91 car, and he just keeps pushing him all the way into turn 4. It looks like he may have felt that Dejao just swerved into him, and he didn't like that. We then got another caution immediately after the restart as Scott Dalitz gets into the back of the 55 of Holden Roberts. Roberts tries to get back onto the track, but it's too late, and he slams into the end of the pit wall. Many of the leaders pitted a couple cautions ago, and so Ashley Tucker inherited the lead. Tucker is the newest addition to the Riggs Motorsports stable, but she is currently the highest running Riggs driver in the points. She was 18th coming into this race. That just goes to show you how well the season has been going for the Riggs and M&J Armada. It doesn't help that their cars have basically been bombs for the first part of the season, and now they're trying to play catch-up. Oh, and now Ashley Tucker has smacked the wall coming off at turn number 2. That's not the first time Tucker has found the wall while leading a race. Remember when she won the rookie shootout? She tried really hard to knock the wall down in that race. Scott Roush in the 78 for Groves Racing is having a pretty good top 10 run going so far. Roush has been struggling in this car ever since he won at Daytona a couple years ago, but in recent weeks he's been starting to show a little bit more speed, so hopefully that trend can continue in the future. Leigh Gruel is also having a good run in the Zenith. The 46 team has been running pretty well in the first part of this season, and Zenith as a whole is trying to rebound from the loss of Scott Hamilton in the TM Master Cup Series. And you saw that the caution flag was out. Paul Lyons experiences a mechanical problem, and he stalls car number 54 on the track. After he had such a great run going, he was able to stay on the lead lap. Oh, and Derek Dunning has slammed into the tire wall right behind him. So we're riding on board with Dunning, and he sees his teammate, and it looks like he just panics and drives right into the tire wall. Yep, that's how you avoid hitting your teammate, by plunging right into the wall. Yevgeny Kuznetsov leads on the restart. Gary D'Souza and Patrick Henderson in front of him are on the tail end of the lead lap. Leigh Gruel is in second, Lucas Sweeney is third. Paul Lyons restarted on the inside line, one lap down, and he has now jumped ahead of Kuznetsov, so if the caution were to come out now, he'd get back on the lead lap. You just saw Benji Flynn peek to the inside of Kuznetsov, but Kuznetsov has the momentum off of turn 4, and he keeps the lead. But it didn't take Flynn long to break away from the pack and drive right up to Kuznetsov's back bumper. Flynn is still searching for his first career victory in this series. He unofficially won the 2010 race at Buffalo Downs before it was revealed that his car was carrying a traction control device. But the following year, he was hired by Dalitz Performance, and so far, he's been close to winning on a couple of occasions. The Dalitz cars have been pretty strong on the short tracks, and I think it'll be kind of a tall order for Kuznetsov to hold him off in these final laps. And now we've got a caution on lap 87 as Michael Gallen in the 85 sweeps up into Nicole Moreno coming off of turn number 2. And Seiju Dejiao just clips the 56 trying to get by. The race restarted with less than 10 laps to go, so the lap cars were not lining up on the inside. Paul Lyons is the first car 1 lap down. Kuznetsov now has to hold off Benji Flynn in the final laps. Scott Morales in the 78 is lurking back in the 3rd spot just in case anyone in front of him makes a mistake. But Lyons is trying to make some noise of his own and try to get by Flynn. I think he is trying to get back on the lead lap. I'm not sure what that's going to accomplish this late in the race. I think he should just let the leaders fight it out for themselves. In the meantime, Kuznetsov continues to hang on to the lead. He is coming to the white flag now, 1 more lap to go. Kuzi, who is quickly becoming a popular face on the ARLA circuit, is staring at his first victory. And Lyons is still trying to fight Flynn, even though he's got nothing to gain. And here he comes to the inside. Flynn has got absolutely no chance now. And it is now clear sailing for Yevgeny Kuznetsov. He comes across the line in a popular victory. The first Russian driver to win a race in this series celebrated in victory lane with copious amounts of vodka. Benji Flynn has to settle for second after the battle for the lead was kind of ruined by the lap car of Paul Lyons. I'm not sure what he was thinking. Scott Morales is third. That's one of his best finishes in quite some time. Ashley Tucker scores the top 5 for Riggs Motorsports. Bobby Porteau finishes 5th after getting into an accident earlier in the race. Lucas Sweeney is 6th. Makoto Yamada finishes a very quiet and well-deserved 7th place after the troubles Big Mac Racing has had this season. Darren Grant made a little bit more noise than he usually does. He finished in 8th. Bixby Foot is 9th. By the way, Power Steering Incorporated put a new hood decal on the 14 car to appease the Total Auto Racing Decency Society. Yeah, we were talking about how ridiculous the old hood logo looked in the Quincy pre-race last week. And then after his teammate Jason Teller struggled in round number 1, Leigh Gruel comes through with a top 10 for Zenus. And now let's take a look at the point standings. Herbie Finkelberg takes over the lead after Libby Bell failed to finish the first round. He leads Bell by 9 points, and then it's 54 points back to 3rd place Ebenezer Quiggles Jr. David Krikorian, the other Speed Vision car, is in 4th. Laura Cyrus is 5th. Those quiet runs have really been paying off for the 102 team. Eric Jackson has moved up to 6th after his 3rd place finish in the first round. He's still the highest running Gravity Racing Inc. driver. Yevgeny Kuznetsov fell out of the top 10 after flipping his car last week, but now he moves back into the 7th spot with his victory. Alex Carson is 8th, Bixby Foot 9th, and then Casey Campbell is 10th. Ashley Tucker is 11th after her great performance today. Robert Scott still hangs on to a spot in the top 15 despite failing to finish the first round. Rick Tyler is 13th, although that might change. The officials did not exactly approve of his driving style today. Ricky Navarro is 14th, he was really nowhere all day. Leigh Gruel is 15th, Kelvin Arailer is 16th. Scott Dollitz and Joseph Howard are tied for 17th, 168 points behind the leader. Benji Flynn is 19th, and then Bobby Porteau rounds out the top 20.